What is a DCE? So a discrete choice experiment, these are attribute-driven experimental studies that are aimed at eliciting consumer preferences, and they are thought to be better at doing that compared to household surveys. So mainly used in behavioral science, in behavioral economics, and these use a particular characteristic of a product that you want to study. And so you really want to think about how do you determine the characteristics that you study, the attributes and the attribute level. An example, if you want to understand how do people in Malawi, or what do they look when they want to buy a mango in the market? So you would have to think about it. And if it is prices, then you want to ask a question, at what price would they buy that mango? So such type of a study wants you to think carefully about the question you have, about the product you are studying, and also the context in which this study will be conducted, because contexts are always different everywhere, almost always. So because of that, we set out to understand this research question. Does lowering price of staple, in Malawi our staple is maize, does that result in a greater maize consumption, or does it result in consumption of other goods? So in this case, you can think of a basket as the characteristic of the product that you think about, and then we are lowering the price of maize as an attribute level. So the aim really was to understand the food choice preferences or responses relative to the changes in the maize prices. Last year, we conducted a household survey and a market survey in May. And then towards the end of the year, we designed this study and we revised it after several pilots. We conducted 3 pilots of the study. So a little bit in detail of the process. The preparatory work started with the household survey, as I mentioned. So in this, really, part of the survey was to list the products, the food products that households consumed or bought in a market, purchased in the previous 2 days, and quantity of such foods. And so one interesting thing was that if they bought food in a non-standardized quantity, we devised what we called our cup, so that we standardized the measurement. So we had a bigger cup which could carry 1 liter of water, and the smaller one is 500 liters. So, and we use this to measure the quantities of food. So the market survey, then we went to the market and collected price data of these products. So this exercise helped us to understand that a household, on average, consumes food products that could be valued at around 1,000 Malawi kwacha, which then translated to 1.4 US dollars each 2 to 3 days. So with this data, then we designed a hypothetical food basket, which comprised of the staple, obviously, rice as a substitute, and then cabbage as a vegetable, and also fish as some healthy protein, and also we had a fizzy drink called Frozen. Initially, we thought of Fanta, but I'll mention very soon that we had a series of pilots which made us to realize that we should replace Fanta with Frozen. So then we designed our study using a design error minimizing efficient design. And this resulted in having 2 sets of 5 scenarios. So in total, we had 10 sets. One had a maize at a higher price, 400 kwacha, and the other one at a lower price of 150 kwacha. And we piloted this 3 times with the data collectors in a community in the outskirts of Zomba, and in another one that is a bit suburban, but right there in Zomba in Malawi. So these scenarios, we presented them when we went to collect data, or to be presented to the households, and we collected data from 400 households. Our sample size was 400. These were done in different order to avoid, of course, ordering bias. So just to give you a feeling of what we did, so we had these 3 baskets of food, and then we would present it. And this one is with maize at a higher price. And then we ask the respondent to say, which basket would you buy? And then we could go next and give a basket with a lower maize price. So as you can see, the quantity of the foods are higher in the lower basket, in the lower scenario than the first, because maize price then is decreased. Thank you. So through this process, we had several observations. The first one was that this helped us really to design or to come up with an appropriate model of food choice. We could have just chosen 5 food groups as our attributes, yeah? But this really helped us to understand the context in which we were working. Secondly, it helped us to construct the baskets that provided really sufficient attribute variability. And also, the construction of a viable instrument was also very interesting in this process. So with appropriate pictures, it was a very interesting process to come up with the pictures. And lastly, it also helped us to establish the choice scenarios around the prices and basket values that was clear to the respondent, because it was something that their context appreciates. So in conclusion, really, this study and the way we designed it, we think that it will really help us to contribute to the evidence pool. One, using of a cup as a standardization measure. I've seen studies where people say, I bought 1 bucket of maize and it goes. But what is 1 bucket? It can be anything. And we've also noted that there are fewer studies of DCEs, especially in nutrition studies. So we think we will contribute to that. And also lastly, this helps us to contribute by documenting the process, not only the product, but the process that we went through to come up with this product. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Jake.